personally thank everyone, but I want to say thank you just as a corporate thank you. Without your prayers, without your help, last week it was really difficult. But God blessed us, and we were really glad that last week the church pulled through for this. A ladies' game night will be on July 27th. We've got a couple of weeks going on with that. The new Sunday school year is starting. If you are looking for a Sunday school class, we have one for you. So please start off the new church year. If you are not attending a Bible study class, just try one. Give it a try. See what you can do. See where you want to plug in. Also, if you would like to help in Bible study, we'd love to have you. So please let me know, and we'll figure out where we need to put you in to help. Upcoming youth events is the 21st a Saturday or Friday? Forgive me.
It's a Sunday night.
It's a Sunday night. Okay, totally missed that one, didn't I? So next Sunday night from 6 to 9, there'll be a youth game night. So make your plans for that if you are part of our youth group. And our new ministry, our 5th and 6th grade ministry, is being launched. It started the very 1st of August. If you received your newsletter and you read it, then you'll have a good idea of what we're talking about. If not, here are some plans. We're going to take our 5th and 6th grade, and we're going to isolate them into a totally separate ministry. They're not children, they're not really youth. So we're hoping that this ministry will be a great launching pad for many of our 5th and 6th graders. So read that and be a prayer about our new ministry. Jeremy Spelman is going to be leading that one. So we're going to be grateful to have him. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for the privilege of coming here and worshiping you today, Father, in total freedom and in total safety, Father. We thank you for that, because I know across the world there are many places, Father, where people are meeting secretly just to be able to worship you. God, as we come today, we pray that you will bless Brother Mike, Father. Help our minds, help our spirits, help our hearts, Father, to be completely clear and ready to receive the message that you delivered from him. Father, we just praise your name for the miracles that happened last week, for children who got to come and hear about you. And Father God, help us continue the ministries that are so vital and so important here in this church. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Please stand on social. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deep and stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters lifted me, now saved am I. Lord lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. All my heart I give to him, ever to him I'll cling. In his blessed presence then, ever his praises sing. Love so mighty and so true, merits my soul's best song. Faithful, loving service to him belongs. Lord lifted me, love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me. When take care of the rest. And we trust him. And we look in his son's name. Amen. Now, see, those who are singing this morning's offering will come down.
Good morning. It's been 33 years since I've sung this song. So it'll be new for some of you and not so new for others. Well, old Buddha was a man, and I'm sure that he meant well. But I pray for his disciples, lest they wind up in hell. And I'm sure that old Muhammad, well, he thought that he knew the way. But it won't be Hare Krishna we're standing before on the judgment day. No, it won't be old Buddha that's sitting on the throne. And it won't be old Muhammad that's calling us home. And it won't be Hare Krishna that plays that trumpet tune. And we're going to see the sun, not every moon. Well, I don't hate anybody, so please don't get me wrong. But there really is a message in this simple song. You see, there's only one way, Jesus, if eternal life is your goal. And meditation of the mind won't save your soul. No, it won't be your Buddha that's sitting on the throne. And it won't be old Muhammad that's calling us home. And it won't be Hare Krishna that plays that trumpet tune. And we're going to see the sun not every moon. All right, listen up. Well, you can call yourself a Baptist and not be born again, a Presbyterian or a Methodist, and still die in your sins. You can't even be charismatic
had to read the book. Amen. Oh, let's go together to Luke chapter 9. Luke chapter 9. Oh, we had a great week. Great week. All of our volunteers and especially our youth volunteers, we want to thank you for all that you did. We had a wonderful week. I absolutely loved Friday. Friday, the 11:30 was our talent display. And in every single thing that was done during the talent display, the gospel was presented. The drama team, we had Tracy Peterson, her daughter, and her son worked with our drama team that week. And the drama was really, it was about having a relationship with Jesus Christ. And so every act that came on stage, the gospel was clearly presented. And I just thank the Lord for that. Amen. A lot of the people that were here, I would say most of the people that were here on Friday for that talent show have never sat in a worship service here at Farley Community Church. And so we have no idea whether they're churched or they're unchurched, whether they're saved or unsaved. We have no clue. But we know that seeds of the gospel were planted on Friday, and what a blessing that is. And then yesterday, we topped that all off on car clear. And my word, we had a lot of cars here yesterday. A lot of cars. Anywhere from, I think, 15 or so cars that came through. It was just remarkable, the ministry that took place here yesterday. And then I was sharing earlier this morning to see our men huddled around an individual and just praying over them. What a blessing that is. And so every person that came to our campus yesterday had a physical need that was met, but more importantly had a spiritual need that was met as well. And so to God be the glory. Amen? So Luke chapter 9. I remember as I was growing up, about the time Labor Day rolled around, the fair would come into town. Now where I grew up, the fair was a big deal. The West Texas State Fair in Abilene, Texas. It was a big deal. And so it was something that we looked forward to going to every year. I remember the first time my parents had the courage to take my sister and I to the fair. And I mean that literally. All right? Because it's huge. The fair is huge. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. I'm not sure. It's somewhere in that ballpark. I remember being really, really, really small. And so Mom and Dad took us to the fair for the first time. And now, you couldn't buy tickets anywhere ahead of time for the fair. You had to go to the fairgrounds and you had to stand in line to get tickets. And after you purchased your tickets, you had to stand in another line to let you inside the fairs. And so my parents were really stressed out about this. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because even back then, I'm not real good at waiting, and I had a really hard time being still and staying where I was supposed to stay. And so I remember them being really, really stressed out about that whole experience. But then we're through the line, and the way that West Texas State Fair is set up, probably about 50 yards inside the entrance to the state fair, you had the produce awards and displays on one side, right? And everything that went along with that. And sometimes, if you got there on the right day, you had the pies and the cakes and all that kind of stuff. Right? But then on the other side, you had the animal display, like the livestock. And so you would have, contests going on for the best cow, the best heifer, the best bull, the best sheep, whatever, the best hog. And so you had that on one side, the produce on the other side. Now, I understand from my dad, we went home, a few weeks ago, I understand Dad said that they do those shows now at a different time than the state fair. Apparently, vendors were complaining that the aroma from the animal displays were preventing people from purchasing their food. I never had a hard time with that. I walk in, smell it, I'm like hungry automatically, And so that sense has changed. But after you got through the animal displays and produce displays and all that stuff, then it was time to head towards where all the excitement was. But before you could get to where the rides were, you had to go through the midway. And for those that you understand how, traditional fairs were set up. The Midway is where all the games were. And they all look really, really easy. You know what I'm talking about? And so anybody should be able to win something at these games. But it turns to find out that they're really, really hard. And then the difficult thing was that these people really taunt you, right? As you're walking through. And so I can remember being 5 years old, and my parents carrying my sister and I, through the Midway, and I could hear these people shouting at my parents. And it wasn't just they wanted you to participate in the games, but if you were trying to ignore them just to walk on through, now they're hurling insults at you. Don't you want to prove to your kids what a man you are? Don't you want to prove to the kids how much you love them? And all of this kind of stuff. And about halfway through the Midway, I'm scared. I've never encountered people like this before in my life. They're just being ugly, and they're being mean, and they're angry. And it's kind of one of those moments, when you're that small, it's not just that you're reaching up for your dad's hand or your mom's hand, but now just like you're climbing up them. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying it was that stressful for me as a 5-year-old. I'm scared. And I can remember just burying my head in my dad's neck going, can we go home? This is not going to be fun. I don't want to be at the fair anymore. Let's just go home. And I remember my dad just saying, hey, don't listen to them. You just listen to me. Don't look at them. You just look at me. Because I promise you, the best is yet to come. Right? Oh, and he was so right. We got just beyond the Midway, and there's all the rides. And then we had a fantastic time. But I think the culture in which we live in today, it's a lot like the Midway. Isn't it? There's a lot of voices, and those voices are all screaming out, and they're wanting you to try their game, play their game, play by their rules. And those voices are everywhere. And they're not just asking, they're demanding. They're demanding that you play their game. They're demanding that you see things from their point of view. They're demanding that you give up what you believe and you adopt their beliefs. And they're demanding that you become tolerant by becoming intolerant. That's our culture. There's a lot of voices that are screaming out in our culture. And what we begin to learn in our world today, it's not just the animals that give off unpleasant aromas, right? Our culture is incredibly difficult to live in today, especially if you're a believer, follower of Jesus Christ. It's difficult because it's not just we want you to do life our way. We want you to believe what we believe. We want you to, kind of compromise on your faith, the way you practice your faith. We even go so far as we would love for you to compromise what you believe about Jesus. And so let me ask you a question. We're going to ask 5 other questions this morning. But question, where do you go to seek refuge from all of those voices? Where do you go to find shelter? Where do you go for peace and for quiet? When the demands of our culture get overwhelming and you get scared or anxious, where do you go to find refuge? My class on Wednesday night, we're doing a study through Psalms. I haven't gotten very far. We're only on chapter 28. We finished chapter 28 this past week. But one of the things that I love about the Psalms, especially the Psalms of David, is over and over and over again, he reminds us that the Lord is our refuge. He is our fortress. He would go on to say that he's our very present help in the time of need. So where do you go? So let's look at 4 questions this morning. Number 1, What does the world say about Jesus? I want you to hold your place there in Luke chapter 9. We're going to flip back to Matthew chapter 16. Luke gives us a more abbreviated version of this a little bit earlier in chapter number 9, but I want us to look at chapter 16 just to see this in the full context. Hold your place in Luke and Matthew chapter 16. What does the world say about Jesus? Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered them, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Now, look at the two questions that Jesus asked. Who do people say that I am? But who do you say that I am? And so the first question that Jesus asked, here are the answers that he receives from his disciples. Some people are saying that you're John the Baptist. Some people are saying that you're Elijah. Some people are saying that you're Jeremiah. Some people are saying that maybe you're one of the other prophets. And so Jesus, after he gets that answer of who do people say that I am, he comes back to the main question, now who do you say that I am? And who is the first one to respond? Peter. Why? You ever thought about that? Why? Well, there are some things that we know, and there are some things we think we know about Peter. Is Peter kind of impetuous? Oh, absolutely, he's impetuous. Is that why Peter responds so quickly? Don't know. And we know that Peter is, he may be a little boastful at times. Is that why he's the first to answer? I mean, if you're going to answer, sometimes you want to be the first to answer, but not always be the first to answer, because sometimes if you're the first to answer, you may not get the answer right. Correct? You know? And so if you're the first one to answer and you don't get the answer right, what does that make you? That makes you wrong, and openly wrong, and then you become a moron in front of all your friends, right? And so, yeah, he's a little boastful, so he's just going to go out there. But maybe there's a part of Peter that we oftentimes don't really want to see. Maybe there's a sensitive side to Peter. Maybe there's a part of Peter that cannot stand an awkward silence. Because I don't know this for sure, but if I just allow my spiritual imagination to kind of go along with this, and if I just maybe pretend like maybe I'm sitting in a Sunday school class, like some of you sitting in a Sunday school class, and sometimes your Sunday school teacher will throw out a question, and there's this awkward silence. Y'all know what that's like? And you want to answer, but you're not really sure if you're going to get the answer right. And so you sit there, and meanwhile, your Sunday school teacher is wondering what kind of Sunday school teacher he is, or Sunday school class he has, and eventually someone will have the courage enough to speak up. Maybe Peter doesn't like the awkward silence. And maybe Peter is looking at Jesus and he's looking at the other disciples, and maybe he sees a hint of hurt in Jesus. And so he's just going to throw out what he knows. You are Christ, the Son of the living God. And he waits, and Jesus says, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh did not reveal this to you, but the Spirit of God revealed this to you." And Peter's like, "Yay, I got the answer right." Right? So could it be, even though for the last 2,000 years we have given Peter a hard time about a lot of things, could it be that in this instance, Peter was being sincere? Maybe. Who does the world say that I am? Now, how do people in our culture, how would they answer that first question? that Jesus poses to his disciples. What does our world believe about Jesus? Here's what I've heard. Oh, he's a really good man. Oh, he was a really good teacher. I've gone so far as, well, I don't necessarily believe that he's the Son of God, but I believe you should follow the things that he taught because they're really good. I've heard that. Son of man? Yeah, because he was born. That would make him a son of man. Son of God? Listen to what Max Lucado says. He says, but a good man is precisely the terminology that we cannot use. A good man would not say what he said or claim what he claimed. Listen to me carefully. He would go on to say a liar would, or God would. Who does the world say that Jesus is? Second question. What does Jesus say about himself? What does Jesus claim to be? Who does he claim to be? What does he say about himself? Now, these are passages of Scripture that we looked at last week, but they're very important. So in case you didn't have time last week to write all of these down, here they are for you again. Because this is what Jesus says about himself. John 6:48, I am the bread of life. John 8:12, I am the light of the world. John 8:58, before Abraham was, I am. He's very clear in that verse who he is. And in fact, if you notice that every time Jesus makes the I am statements, that I am immediately got the attention of everyone he was talking to, because in every one of those statements, he is claiming to be God. Not just the Son of God, but God. He is using God's name as he reveals certain characteristics about himself. But in John 8:58, he doesn't even leave it up to questions. Before Abraham was, I am. John chapter 10, verse 9, I am the door. John 10:11, I am the good shepherd. 10:36, I am the Son of God. John 11:25, I am the resurrection and the life. John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, which is what Rob was saying about just a moment ago. John 15:1, I am the true vine. These are all the statements that Jesus made about himself. And by the way, when Jesus came to this planet, he stated what he came here to do. And he fulfilled everything that he came here to do. His mission was completely fulfilled. Every promise that he made, he kept his promise. There's just one more promise that we're waiting for him to fulfill. And that's for his return. Amen? But here's what gets me so excited. If Jesus Christ fulfilled every promise from the Old Testament and all the promises that he made while he was here on this earth, then there is absolutely no reason I have to believe that he's not coming back. Amen? So who does Jesus say he is? Third question. What does God say about Jesus? Now, Luke chapter 9, and we'll begin in verse 28. What does God say about Jesus? So now 8 days after these things happened, the scripture we read about in Matthew, now about 8 days after these sayings, he took with him Peter and John and James, and he went up to the mountain to pray. And again, you know my theory on this, not because these three were the most spiritual, but probably because these three needed the most spiritual. Right? I mean, there's a reason why Donna takes me to Citrus. She doesn't think she can leave me here by myself. Okay. So now about 8 days after these things, he took with him Peter and John and James, and he went up to the mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was altered, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep, But when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who stood with him. And as the men were parting from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good that we were here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. And as he was saying these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. Oh, I love this story because Peter gets so overwhelmed by what he saw. Oh, listen. Oh, what did he see? He saw into the heavenly dimension. He saw Jesus not as the Son of Man, but as the Son of God, clothed in his glory, his heavenly glory. He saw Moses and Elijah not clothed with their human flesh, but clothed with that glorified body. I mean, they got to look into a world that one day we will know, but we don't know it yet. And he saw all of that, and he's blown away by what he saw, and he's so overwhelmed. He says, I tell you what, listen to him, Jesus. Man, thank you for the invitation that you gave us to be here today. And in honor of you, let's build 3 tents. One for you, one for Moses, one Elijah. Now listen to what he said. The word tents translates into synagogues. So let's build a synagogue for you, a synagogue for Moses, a synagogue for Elijah. Now, he doesn't realize how heretical what he said is, because basically what he says, let's build a place where we can worship Moses. Let's build a place where we can worship Elijah, and we'll build a place where we can worship you. And in saying that, he elevates Elijah and Moses to level ground with Jesus. Oh, but he learned his lesson. Because in Acts chapter 4, verse 12, listen to what he says, and there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. He learned you cannot put anyone else on the same field as Jesus. Luke chapter 9, again, look at verse 34. I love what God does here. So as Peter was saying these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. All right? Which is God's nice way of saying, hey, Peter, you did a lot of talking. Thank you for your input. But God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Right? Listen to him. Now understand again what God says about Jesus. This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. Towards the tail end of Christ's ministry, but at the beginning of Christ's ministry, we read this in Matthew 3, verse 16. When Jesus was baptized, immediately he went up from the water. Behold, the heavens were opened to him. He saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and coming to rest upon him, fulfillment of prophecy. And behold, a voice from heaven said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. What does God say about Jesus? That's my boy. That's my beloved. That's the chosen one. Kind of sums it all up, doesn't it? The most important question that we will ask of you today, that we will ask of one another today, is who do you say that Jesus is? Was Jesus really curious about what the world said about him? Oh, yeah, he was. But the most important thing that Jesus wanted on that day in Matthew chapter 16 is who the disciples said he was. And the most important thing that God cares about today is who you say his son Jesus is. Who do you say that he is? That's It's the most important question you will ever be asked. It's the greatest test that you will ever take. How you answer that question, eternity hinges on it. Who is Jesus? One person wrote this: call him crazy, crown him as king. Dismiss him as a fraud, or declare him to be God. Erwin McManus said this, that Jesus is either a liar, a lunatic, or Lord. He's one of the three, and he can only be one. Walk away from him or bow before him, but don't play games with him, and don't call him a great man. Don't list him among decent folk. Don't clump him up with Moses, Elijah, Buddha, Joseph Smith, Muhammad, or Confucius. He didn't leave that option. He is either God or godless. He is either heaven sent or he is hell born. He is either all hope or he is all hype, but he is nothing in between. C.S. Lewis said the following. And this is from his book, Mere Christianity. If you've not read that book, I would encourage you to read it. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things that Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on a level with the man who says that he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You can shut him up for a fool, or you can spit at him and call him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great man or a great teacher. He has not left that open to us, and he did not intend to. He is Lord. Lord. So we do, in the midst of a noisy culture that demands you think like they think, believe what they believe, act like they act, what do you do? What do you do? I think the right answer is you did what I did when I was a kid. You crawl up your daddy, and you wrap your arms around him, and you do exactly what he says to do. Don't listen to them. You listen to me. And you don't look at them. Keep your eyes on me. Oh, and son, by the way, I promise you, best is yet to come. Amen. Let's pray. Oh, Father, thank you for giving us your word. Oh, God, we thank you so much that the word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory. The glory is the only Son of God. Oh, we thank you that he came into his own, but his own did not receive him. But to as many who did receive him, to them he gave the right to be called sons, daughters of God. Thank you. Thank you for the Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord, if there is one who has yet to establish in their heart and in their mind and their own doctrine exactly who you are, I pray that today will be the day that Jesus becomes Lord of their life. Lord. That means that he is the one who is in charge. That our Creator, the all-powerful God, doesn't just stay on some kind of pedestal way up in the beyond, but Lord, he becomes a vital part of our life. He is the one that we follow, that we serve. He is the one that we answer to. He is the one that we fall under his authority and his protection. For the one in this place that comes today that doesn't know Christ as Lord, oh God, I pray that today is the day that they call upon you. Lord, we thank you so much
No, it says that on the thing. We joke about it all the time. It's great. She does the quiet. She really liked it. She was like, I think I can do this. Kelly, what is this last row? What is this last row? Word, man. That is. That's something. You see this last row, Mike? It's like 20 chairs on this last row.
It's not. It's supposed to be pulled up.
This is.
The row goes behind there.
Yeah.
So where did the
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is that,
exactly the same every time?
usually I have like a good 4-ish chairs to just throw all my stuff on that no one's allowed to use.
I don't know they are. I even went and looked in the room again to make sure they all got brought in.
No, they all got brought in.
Somewhere
I think I took the last one. I'm pretty sure I was the last one.
I'm gonna hear from Shane. I already know.
No, I think it's hilarious. It's
Yes.
fine.
I thought, oh yes, there's not two.
There's not two. I mean, there could be. I just take 2 up.
Yeah, there you go. Just take two off.